This is Matthew Kratter's Bitcoin University. Today I want to talk about Bitcoin and personal responsibility. This is in response to a video I made yesterday called How People Lose Their Bitcoin. And someone responded, to be honest, I lost the majority of my Bitcoin listening to this channel. Had I left it on Coinbase where I have it now, I would still be holding. Moving to cold storage, in other words, moving to a hardware wallet, killed me, having lost the pass keys and switching devices. To be honest, I have no idea what a switching device is. I'm not sure if this is a hardware wallet, and I'm not sure what a pass key has to do with this. Normally, you don't use pass keys for hardware wallets. If this person had followed this channel's advice and written down their 12 or 24 word recovery seed, this would never have happened. And this was my response to them. Blaming this channel for your own mistakes shows how far you are from taking personal responsibility in your own life. Now, Bitcoin is difficult and self-custody can be difficult. A number of other comments on that video saying similar things. I just got a hardware wallet and it terrifies me every time I try to do anything with it. Someone else saying I'm the same. I'm too scared to move it to a cold card in case I F it up. My response: start slowly and with very small amounts of Bitcoin while you practice. It's like learning to drive a car. You don't get on the highway the first time. So this is one thing you can do if you're too scared by your hardware wallet. You can set it up and just move a very small amount of money over there, a very small amount of Bitcoin, maybe $5 or $10 worth, and play around with it. Erase it, factory reset your hardware wallet, and restore it with the recovery seed. And make sure you know how to do it before you move large amounts over. But it's very important to at least begin this journey. Another response: wow, it seems like it would be easier to not use a hardware wallet. My response to that is, if you don't use a hardware wallet, you're going to lose all of your Bitcoin. This is the only real way to store it safely for yourself. If you want a really easy place to begin your self-custody journey and learn how to hold your own Bitcoin and hold your own keys, consider getting a Bitkey. This is probably the easiest to use. It's not my favorite from an intermediate or advanced perspective. But if you want something fairly easy that uses a version of multi-sig, I'll put a link to this in the description notes below, as well as a link to the review video about it. When it comes to Bitcoin self-sovereignty, as Jeffrey Walsh 817 points out in this comment, remember folks, real freedom is risky and unforgiving, but it's totally worth it. And I would agree with that. Franco Gasparino responded, while I agree this is not the default in human nature, people want to be taken care of. And I'm not sure that's true over long historical cycles. I think one way of approximating history is this, where hard times create strong men create good times, and you could substitute strong men and women create good times create weak men and women, and weak men and women create hard times. Self-sovereignty is hard. It's especially hard when you've grown up in a weak fiat culture. Fiat culture creates weak men and women. Weak men and women tend to want to remain reliant on the state, which means that the state can keep control over them through monetary censorship, deplatforming, debanking, and the state can also continue to steal from them, not just through taxes, but through picking their pocket with money printing and inflation. Our media, unfortunately, our mainstream media is full of weak men and women who want you to remain weak like they are. If you listen to any mainstream channel, if you listen to ABC or MSNBC or CNN or NPR, you basically were able to miss out on the entire Bitcoin revolution because they kept you away from it. And you can see here in NPR all these negative articles, how Bitcoin has fueled ransomware attacks, as if the US dollar is not involved in ransomware attacks. The rise of crypto mines in the South raises concerns for the electric grid. Again, this is another hit piece on Bitcoin. I think another source of our current weakness may be the microplastics, all the endocrine disruptors in our food, as well as fiat money. Great comment here from Alston Allred. I think it's highly likely that our hormones and microbiome play a much bigger role in our thoughts and decision making than we give them credit for. There's a very interesting study of the people who work at NPR, I believe, on This American Life. Men at NPR have abnormally low levels of testosterone. Normal ranges are at 300 to 1,000, but apparently the highest level at NPR is 270, so below the lowest part of that range. In a similar vein, researchers found that strongly affiliated Democrats have a lower testosterone level than weakly affiliated ones. And as if that wasn't enough, researchers administered testosterone to the weakly affiliated Democrats, and it reduced their party affiliation by 12% and made them feel 45% warmer toward Republican candidates. The findings suggest testosterone influences political preferences, especially among weakly affiliated individuals. So I'll link to this study in the description notes below. Testosterone administration induces a redshift in Democrats. And what I'm doing here is I'm using the Republicans as an example of perhaps a party that emphasizes self-sovereignty over reliance on the state, as I would say the current state of the Democratic Party teaches its adherents. Now, if we move back to the Bitcoin sphere, the reason you don't leave your Bitcoin on Coinbase or any other exchange is because there's a long history of people losing their Bitcoin that way. That's the main way they lose it. They don't lose it through self-custody. We have examples like I spoke about yesterday, Quadriga, where people only got 13 cents back on the dollar. Looks like with Mt. Gox and BlockFi and some of these other services, people are getting more back. But this is quite risky, and it always ends badly, and especially it ends badly when you create a giant honeypot by having so much Bitcoin sitting in one place. And this is why I've raised my concerns over Coinbase being the sole custodian for most of the Bitcoin spot ETFs. And my prediction remains eventually Coinbase's Bitcoin will be seized either by the US government or by hackers or by something like this. So this is the real reason we have to take personal responsibility and move our coins into cold storage. Because if you leave it on Coinbase long enough, I'm guaranteeing you're going to lose all of your Bitcoin. If we get back to the idea of self-sovereignty and continuing the journey of learning and not giving up really easily, the amazing thing about this time we live in now is that anyone with even a tiny ounce of motivation can learn almost anything for free these days. A great resource that I've been playing around with is Venice.ai. It's like ChatGPT, but you don't have to pay for it, and it's more private. You can pay for it if you want to use its more advanced features, but you just go to Venice.ai. In this example, I was asking it about quantum gravity based on a question from one of my kids. Quantum gravity is a new theoretical framework that's trying to do what Einstein failed to do, which is to reconcile quantum physics and the really micro level of physics with the macro level of physics, and especially gravity. But here's an example of a great way you can get up to speed on something. Obviously, you're not going to become an expert on quantum gravity, but the tools are there for doing some digging. I like to use Venice.ai. I also like to use the search function on X, on Twitter. This is quite useful as well. It can lead to some interesting individuals that you can then speak with. And of course, there's YouTube as well. If you type in quantum gravity here, you can see so many great videos about that. There's so many free resources. When we have politicians talking about how we have to increase education budgets, etc., those educational budget increases mostly go to administrators, as we know, whereas most of the world's knowledge is now available for free online. You have Michael Saylor's Saylor Academy, which is a really cool website. I'll link to all this in the description notes below. And then you have all the major universities putting all of these free online courses. You have MIT and their open courseware. You have Stanford free online courses. You have Harvard free online courses. All the world's knowledge is mostly available for free. And I'll also put a link, of course, to my own videos, Matthew Cratter's Bitcoin University here. And there's a search function right here where you can click and put in a keyword and learn anything you want about Bitcoin. Again, self-sovereignty, personal responsibility, these are very foreign concepts in our culture, and these are not things that are learned overnight. So I would say be patient with yourself, don't rush things, but also don't let a day go by where you don't learn something new, because the Bitcoin rabbit hole is very deep indeed, and it will lead you to many adjacent, very deep rabbit holes that may challenge your existing beliefs about health, nutrition, history, politics, and virtually every other idea that you've blindly accepted from your government school educators and from your fiat masters. So embrace the journey. Don't be scared to learn new things. Don't be scared to learn how to use a hardware wallet. Just take baby steps and you will get there. You have only your mental chains to lose. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the subscribe and like buttons. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.